Hi everybody, welcome back to another mod spotlight with me, Sid. And can you guess what today's mod spotlight is? Can you? Can you guess? Can you guess? I mean, that might give you a bit of a clue. Today we are looking at what I think is probably one of the essential mods of any vintage story playthrough, and that is QP's chisel tools by our very own master of mind rot and purveyor of poop. Yeah, if you don't understand that, you just need to see the rusty gears. QP has a very toilet-based humour, quite literally. QP, Quentin. Now, QP's chisel tools. Let's talk chisel. Let me just get this out of the way and go over here. So before we can really talk about QP's chisel tools, we need to talk about chisels, because QP's chisel tools is an extension to the vanilla chiseling. So chisel is available in all the metals: copper, tin bronze, bismuth bronze, black bronze, iron, meteoric iron and steel, and you will need a hammer to use it. You need a hammer in your offhand, and that is available in all the same metals, plus for some reason gold and silver. I can't imagine either of those are going to be particularly useful. And if you were to take a chisel and a hammer, you can take any old block. Doesn't really matter whether it's one of these, any block in the world that is chiselable. Now, there are some restrictions. You can't chisel, for example, leaf blocks, blocks with certain transparency features. But you can take it, and it will give you a voxel grid like this, which is 16 by 16 by 16. So each block is 16 voxels, and you can just chisel them away, add them on. You can do whatever you like. You can make a little smiley face, you can fill it back in, you can do all of that good stuff. Hitting the F key, which is the menu key, you can change whether you're doing a 1 by 1. Now, when we say 1 by 1, we actually mean 2 by 2 by 2. It's 2 pixels by 2 pixels by 2 pixels. That's the smallest you can chisel. It has been hinted and suggested and joked that maybe we need pixel level chiseling. We really don't. I need a life. But you can go and make a bigger block out of that. You can go and you can take a full quarter off. You can come in and, I don't know, let's have a bit out of there. So all of that is doable. We can rotate the block backwards and forwards. We can flip it. Now, this is in the horizontal plane only. You can't do anything other than horizontal normally. We can name it Bob, and we can add materials to it, which we'll look at a bit later on. So, thank you, motorcycle. What does QP's add? Because obviously that's a really powerful and useful feature. Well, QP's chisel tools adds a whole bunch of additional items. So we're going to start looking at these individually. So we've got the hand planer. The hand planer comes in copper through steel, and if I were to take you, what it allows me to do is strip entire levels and place them back on. So we can do all of that. Really handy. And if I were to grab my chisel and my hammer again, and I were to, I don't know, let's do that. I can, and maybe actually let's also do this. So the chisel, the hand planer can remove any material, and that basically just does that. If you put it back like that, it puts a whole slab on. So don't do that. Island mode is where you want to do small sections, so you can do that, and you can also undo. You can do that. That will take all of that out, which is not what you want. But there's the ability to put these in and out. The hand planer is really useful for large block manipulations. The hand wedge is another tool. These all take just one ingot to make, by the way. So hand wedge has got move, mirror and rotate and undo. Now obviously we've already said you can do rotate with this, but this one, the rotate, well, you can do exactly...
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Thank you, Alexa. Grief. This one will allow you not only to rotate on the planes like that, but you can also rotate in other directions. So you can rotate it X, Y, Z. You can flip it, and you can flip it on the top and on the bottom, so you can flip it upside down. And the other thing you can do with this is you can push. Now this is going to move away in that direction. You'll notice this gets thinner over here. It doesn't move into the block next to it. So be aware that you will lose material if you go outside of the bounds of the box. So you can see there's the bounds of the box beneath it. If I push it that way, we've not gone anywhere there. Hand wedge, really useful as well. Let us go and play with paintbrushes. So we've already said that you can take a material. So if I grab some of these, I'll want that later, so I'll take it with me. And I can come over here, I can chisel this block, I can hit F and I can add a block, and then I can just fill my boots and enjoy myself. However, if I were to put, say, that glass in that block and grab paintbrush, which comes in iron, meteoric iron, steel only, you can't get any lower ones. Take the iron one, and whatever is in the first slot is what you will use. So we can do that, we can change that one. So the paintbrush is really quite useful. And if I were to come over here and add, let me just add that, but not use it, you can see it's in there. Now what I can do with the paint scraper is I can remove unused paint textures. So if I now go over there, you can see that block that I added has gone. Paint scraper is available in all the metals. So useful to have, useful little tool there. Now let's come on to the really useful, well, some of the really useful ones. Now I'm going to say something possibly controversial, sorry QP, and I'm not 100% sure on this yet. I have this is a relatively recent feature that QP has implemented, and that is that we have 3 different types of pantograph now. We have got the simple pantograph, we have got the full pantograph, and we've got the door tool. Now previously all the functions that were on these were on the one pantograph, and you had quite a large menu. To simplify it, QP has given us different versions, and there's no additional cost. The simple pantograph is the only one where copper is available. You need to be in tin, bronze or above for the higher ones. So the simple pantograph, if I were to chisel that block, gives me paste shape and materials, merge shapes and undo. 3 very simple things. So let me just chop off that. In fact, let me do something better. Let me come over to this one that we chiseled earlier and copy it. That's just a left click on the mouse, and then we come over here and we right click and it copies the shape. Literally all it does. However, if you were to craft your pantograph, you'll get a black bronze full pantograph. So there's no additional cost. You don't need to make multiple ones. That will now give you the full version. Now the full version has all of those options before, but you also can paste material now. So if I come over here and go paste material, we can bring that over and change the material of our items. It's really useful if you're like me. I tend to work in a lot in packed dirt because it's just a convenient block, and then I add the materials I want later. You can mirror the shape, so that will add to that shape, and now we've doubled it over. You can undo, you can rename, maybe. Oh no, I think you can get it with the, if I were to come and get this one, I can call it Bob. So I can copy the name, and you can remove duplicate and unused materials, which now you'll see there is no none of this, it's all that. And then the final tool is this one, which is the door tool. Now the door tool is a little awkward. Let me just take off some of you. So what we are going to do is we're going to come up over here with the door tool, and we are going to assign closed, and we're going to make you, that's the closed model, and then we're going to take you and we are going to assign an open model. So now we can make that block. Now obviously you'd do this with a door or something more sensible, but this is just me making that work. And similarly we could do, let's have a, we'll assign door closed. So, and then, interesting. All right, let me try something else. Assign door open. There you go. So we can do this one the same, but then what we can do is we can link the doors. So we can select that one, link them together, and now we've got a linked door. So if you were making a 2x2 or a 4x4 door, you could do all of that. And that is that. You can also, if I just come out of here, bring it back to the simple one. So pantograph is absolutely essential. Okay, let's move on over here to crafting recipes. Now the rot there was actually berries. They rotted and I forgot to replace them. So quick lime, 64 berries or fruit or whatever, or 32 veg, or a bucket of dye. There's a whole host of things, and a board will give you a palette, and the palette will allow you to paint blocks. You can also give, let's go with a bit of white and do that. And now this has got 2 blocks, so we can just go to town like that. So the palette just gives you colours, and these colours are not routinely available in survival, so that's a nice thing. Really useful for doing modern builds, brightly coloured builds, statues, voxel art, anything like that. Same recipe, but with a gold ingot rather than a plank, will give you the glow palette, which gives you emissive light sources. So they glow, but they don't actually provide illumination. And we can come in here and for example, I can do that, and it will change all of those to that colour. Let me go with something a bit darker. So that's all simple. And again, you can do the shift and right click to add a bit of glow. And then finally, quicklime, veg or fruit, cupronickel ingot, and 8 lanterns of any type. So I would suggest use copper or molly. I can never say it. Because they're cheaper than obviously using steel lanterns, that would be crazy. Will give you the Jonas palette. Now, cupronickel may be a problem because it is an endgame material. There are some mods, I think it's either still necessaries or things. There's some mods that will allow you to grind down the machine parts to get cupronickel dust and then cook them up, which can be useful, but that will give you the Jonas palette. Now the Jonas palette gives you fully emissive light blocks, and that will now give you a source which is actually a light source. So yeah, has a very low durability though, because it is overpowered. You know, the idea is you can make lanterns with that. The durability on the glow palette is slightly better. The durability on the normal palette is reasonable, but you will go through a lot of those if you're building. The ladder maker and path maker. Well, the ladder maker is only available in iron, meteoric and steel, and unsurprisingly, if I were to turn those blocks into things, what we can do is we can click on those and it's a ladder. So it allows you to turn any chisel block into a ladder. The path maker, which is available in tin, bronze up, and has some fairly hefty durabilities because it's going to make a lot of path blocks. You need path in your inventory, and you see here where this is all normal. So if I were to chisel myself a path across here and then come in here, and put you away, we're now getting the speed benefit as if we're walking on a path. So useful little tools, makes life, little quality of life stuff there. Let's move on over here to QP's chisel. Now if you take a chisel and a pantograph, the pantograph is not consumed, of tin, bronze or up, you can get yourself a QP chisel. And a QP chisel has all of the usual items as well as these four. And what we can do is, if I were to go in and put myself that glass in, I can, rather than having to chisel out and replace, I can paint. I could literally do that if I wanted, but you can paint with the item. The other option there at the end is to flip textures. So if you had a textured block, say planks, you can flip them so they change directions. Really useful tool. If you're using that, you're probably not going to want to use that because they do the same. But of course, for the true chiseler, for the connoisseur, for the chiseler who knows what they want, 2 steel chisels and a steel hammer. Consumed in the crafting will give you the true chisel. Now the true chisel is a true masterpiece. It does not require a hammer in the offhand. It does everything that the QP's chisel does, but you don't need anything there. Oh, and it has a absolutely ludicrous durability. So the true chisel is like the pinnacle of chiseling. Okay, so let me get rid of you. I'm going to bring myself a true chisel down. I'll get rid of you. I'm going to keep myself a wedge, and I'm going to keep myself that. And I'm going to keep myself a pantograph, which is my usual joke. I often refer to it as a pantograph rather than a pantograph. The other thing is Chiseler's Hunger Bar. Get used to that one. You are going to find yourself starving to death regularly when you start chiseling. Over here are decorative items. Now, decorative items are exactly what they say. They are items of things: decorative barrel, bed, chest, high capacity chest, display case, fence, flower pot, shelves, signs, you name it, anvils. These are all, or for the most part, these are all created by taking a chisel and combining it with whatever is in the item. So if it's a chest, chisel and a chest will give you a decorative chest. Chisel and 2 trunks will give you a high capacity chest, or 4 decorative chests. The one exception to that is the anvil, which, because if you look at that and we say, look at the thing, you can use a normal chisel with a copper anvil to get copper back. So what we actually use is QP's chisel for the anvils. So it gates it a bit further up, but the decorative anvil is basically the same thing. All of these are functional. All of these will work. This is a decorative fire pit. And what happens is, if we were to, let me go borrow this. Thank you. We can place this on any decorative block and it will replace it with the item, but it remains functional. Apparently, if you name the block for the chest will take on the name of the actual block. So if you wanted a dirt chest, which you just keep dirt in, name the block dirt, and then it will show as dirt on the actual thing. So that's a trick that QP taught us. So these are really good. You can make your chimneys anything. You can make a nice modern looking oven. You can make your forge. You can do anything really. And I just encourage everybody to experiment with those because they are really powerful. So before we finish off this, I just wanted to share a few insights that I've gained over the years from chiseling, and how to make life a little bit easier for yourself, I suppose. So, the motorcycles around here are terrible at the moment. Sorry. The art of chiseling is interesting. If you are making something with quadrilateral symmetry, so where, like a table in this case, don't chisel the whole thing, because you don't have to. Chisel a quarter of it. Because if you chisel a quarter of it and you copy that, and then you were to take this and you were to flip it, and you were to paste and do merge shapes, you can make half of a table. But if you were to take that and you were to flip it, now you've got a table, and you only made a quarter of one. Similarly, if you're using this, the meteoric hand wedge, again, we can do exactly the same with a thing that is octolateral symmetry. In this case, it's a crude attempt at a sphere. I didn't have a good one. I just needed something to demonstrate this. But now you're going to use this wedge, because what you're going to do is you're going to flip that block like that, and now you can make yourself a sphere. If it's bilateral symmetry, just chisel half of it, because you can make a chair very quickly. One trick you can do is, if you wanted this, for example, but you also wanted, let's rotate it, let's push it around a bit, and then let's do that. You can make multiples, and so I've used this to do stacks of plates, for example, where the plates are slightly offset from each other, and I've just moved them up and down and around. You could, for example, also, if I were to, let's rotate this, that's not what I wanted. Let's rotate it. Let's give it a little push. Now, the one thing here is I don't actually have any oak planks in my inventory, so what's going to happen when I merge that is it's going to try and find a match. So you would then need to go back in here and change that over to something else, but that's fine. Similarly, you can do this with all of the emissive blocks. So if you wanted to do a lamp, for example, it's not a million miles off. So there are an awful lot of things you can do with a chisel to get this to work in ways for you. But QP's chisel tools, absolutely essential to me. I love chiseling. I love the flexibility it gives me. I love the fact that I could make a domed ceiling and use the pantograph to duplicate it. Can you, if you imagine if I wanted to make this, well, even if I wanted to, it's a terrible block. If I wanted this to be say that. Now, if I wanted that and had to do that for every single block going down there, that would be so tedious. However, that is a lot easier, and it makes chiseling a much more viable solution for building, in my opinion. Anyway, QP's chisel tools. Link for the mod is in the description. I'd be amazed if people haven't heard of this one, but go check it out. Give Quentin the love, and try it out for yourself. It's great, really useful. Can't recommend it enough. And that's me. So till next time, thank you very much for watching, guys. I will see you soon. Bye for now.